Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most insidious forms of psychological manipulation out there, gaslighting. In this explainer, we're not just going to define it, we're going to look at how it literally rewires your brain, we'll expose the manipulator's playbook, and most importantly, we'll talk about the path to reclaiming your own reality.
Let's start right here, with a feeling that might be uncomfortably familiar. This isn't just about being a little forgetful, it's about being systematically convinced that your own mind, your own memory, is fundamentally unreliable. And you have to understand, that is the entire point.
That sinking feeling in your stomach, the constant second-guessing, the terrifying thought that maybe you're the one who's going crazy. Well, what the science is showing us now is that this feeling isn't a personal failure. It's actually a predictable neurological response to a deliberate psychological attack. It's a feature, not a bug, of the abuse.
So, how does gaslighting actually take hold? I mean, how does it get inside your head like that? To really get it, we have to look under the hood, at what's happening inside the brain. Because this isn't just a mind game, it's a process that can physically change you. Okay, so here's the science. Your brain is, at its core, a prediction machine. It's constantly trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Gaslighters hijack this process through something called prediction error corruption. They intentionally create these conflicts between what you know to be true and what they tell you is true. And over time, this forces your brain to start doubting its own ability to predict anything correctly.
So when a gaslighter tells you that never happened, when you know it did, your brain gets backed into a corner. It's faced with two absolutely catastrophic choices. Path 1, accept the person you trust is lying to you, and your world isn't what you thought. Path 2, accept that you're the one who's broken, that your perception is flawed. And to preserve that critical relationship, the brain often defaults to the one that feels, in the moment, a tiny bit safer: self-blame.
And make no mistake, the damage is physical. This is not just a feeling. Chronic gaslighting floods your system with stress hormones, keeping you in a constant state of high alert. The trauma actually becomes measurable. It becomes physiological, to the point where brain scans of survivors often look eerily similar to those of someone with severe PTSD.
So how exactly do they do it? In the moment, it feels so chaotic, so confusing. But when you step back, you realize manipulators are almost always following a distressingly predictable playbook.
And it unfolds in these clear stages. It starts with small, believable lies. Then they repeat them, over and over. If you dare to push back, they escalate. The whole point is to wear you down until you start to feel completely dependent on them. Then, just when you're about to break, they give you a little glimmer of false hope, a quick apology, a moment of kindness, just enough to keep you hooked right before they establish total control.
Now, what happens if you actually confront a gaslighter with evidence? Well, you're probably going to hit a very specific kind of wall. It's a defense mechanism known as DARVO, and it's a three-step move designed to completely shut down any kind of accountability. Here's how it works. First up, deny. It's not a negotiation. It's an absolute, unwavering, "that did not happen." They will look you right in the eye and erase a reality you both just shared. And that right there is the first shock to your system. It's designed to make you question your own memory right from the get-go.
Next, they attack. You'll notice the conversation suddenly pivots. It's no longer about what they did. It's about what's wrong with you for bringing it up. You're not just mistaken. You're crazy. You're too sensitive. You're making things up. Your sanity itself becomes the target.
And then, the final twist. They reverse the roles of victim and offender. Suddenly, they are the one who's been wronged by your unfair accusations. By the end of this conversation, you can literally find yourself apologizing to the very person who hurt you. It is an unbelievably disorienting tactic.
Tactics like DARVO don't just happen once in a while. They create a constant emotional atmosphere that you're forced to live in. And there's a perfect acronym to describe the state: FOG.
The fog is like an invisible prison built from three very powerful emotions. There's fear of what they'll do if you leave, fear of abandonment. There's obligation, this manufactured sense that you owe them something. And then there's guilt, that pervasive feeling that you are somehow responsible for their emotions and their bad behavior. And those three things together can keep a person paralyzed for years.
Okay, so now let's zoom in even closer. Let's look at the words themselves, because it turns out even a manipulator's sentence structure can be a huge red flag. Forensic linguistics gives us some incredible clues about how deception is literally coded into their language. So check this out. It's a key linguistic tell. Someone taking responsibility says, "I made a mistake." An accountable person uses "I."
But manipulators, they use distancing language, like mistakes were made. See that subtle shift? It's all about removing themselves from the action, creating this psychological space between them and their wrongdoing. And when researchers analyze huge amounts of text, these patterns just pop right out. Deceptive speech consistently uses fewer I statements. But ironically, it often uses more negative emotion words like hate, sad, or angry to try and overwhelm you emotionally. And the sentences are often much simpler because the brainpower it takes to maintain a lie makes complex, nuanced language a lot harder to pull off.
Now, it's so important to understand this isn't just a problem that happens in romantic relationships. These exact same manipulative dynamics are deeply, deeply embedded in our wider social structures and even our institutions.
Think about it. This whole dynamic becomes so much more dangerous when the person distorting your reality is in a position of authority. What happens when it's your boss constantly questioning your competence, or your doctor dismissing your very real physical pain? That power imbalance makes it incredibly difficult to trust your own gut.
So, in the workplace, it might look like a manager who constantly takes credit for your work or trivializes your ideas in meetings. In a doctor's office, it's being told that the severe pain you're experiencing is just stress or all in your head. And when these institutions get called out, they can engage in their own form of Darvo, attacking the credibility of the very people they were supposed to serve and protect.
From that place of confusion, of feeling completely trapped, it can honestly feel impossible to find your way back to yourself. But there is a clear, actionable path to dismantling the manipulator's influence and learning to trust your own mind again.
Okay, so this is the most crucial takeaway. You cannot win an argument with a gaslighter. You just can't. Recovery isn't about winning. It's about breaking their hold on your perception. So you start by documenting everything. Keep a private record of what actually happens. Get a reality check from people you trust. Start to reconnect with your body. That gut feeling, that knot in your stomach, that is valuable data. And most importantly, learn to disengage. Your safety is more important than winning an unwinnable fight.
Now, for healing that deep neurological trauma we talked about earlier, certain therapies like EMDR can be incredibly effective. Because gaslighting messes with how your brain files memories, EMDR helps it to properly reprocess and store those traumatic events. It helps to take the emotional charge out of them, and it can calm your nervous system, pulling you out of that constant state of threat.
So if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Gaslighting only works if it can convince you that your intuition is broken. But here's the truth. It isn't. It's been suppressed, it's been silenced, it's been invalidated, but that internal compass is still there, just waiting for you to decide to start listening to it again.